This podcast is hosted by Sheza Barbour, co-founder of Good Tree Institute, and joined by licensed therapist Archie Aquino and our resident scholar and founder, Dr. Nadia Qatranji.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Timeless Conversations with Good Tree Institute. We are continuing our story of Surah Yusuf, and we're jumping right back into the story where we left off, where Yusuf is having a conversation with his brothers. Like, his brothers are there, they're present, but they don't know it's Yusuf, right? And so we're going to start having, this episode is going to be really focused on the brothers, their what they are dealing with and the mentality that they're dealing with, without yet them discovering that the person in charge is really their youngest brother that they threw into the well. So let's pick off where we left off, Dr. Nadia, and continue this journey.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So inshallah, so as you said, Shaza, basically the rest of the surah, because as you know, the aspect of his relationship with brother was just open. It did not get a it did not get a conclusion. There was no closure there. Mm-hmm. So now is the part where they're going to have to meet each other again, and something has to open up. And we addressed a lot how they were basically playing the victim and blaming their father and blaming Yusuf and all of that, and how Yusuf alayhi salam basically dealt with it himself. But we never addressed for them. How about them? How can they actually heal from all of that? So subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed for this opportunity to happen for the brothers to meet Yusuf alayhi salam when Yusuf he was appointed to be basically the treasurer of the food, of everything that is happening, and take care of allocating the food to people in these 7 years where there is food, so that they can take care of the rest of the years. So he's in Egypt, and the brothers are coming from Palestine, because he was basically taking care of all the region. So now there's that encounter, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَجَاءَ إِخْوَةُ Yusuf. So the brothers of Yusuf came. فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ. So they entered unto him. And it seems that Yusuf alayhi salam was actually involved. He was not only just kind of like behind the scenes directing how things need to happen. He was interacting with the people who are coming to take the food. That's how he got to see them. So they entered because they wanted to take their share. And when they entered, فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ, they entered unto him, فَعَرَفَهُمْ. So he recognized them. He knew them, because you remember they were kind of older. He was young. وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. And that's why Allah said they are to him munkirun. They could not recognize. They didn't recognize him. They didn't know him, because he basically grew older, and they just could not put the picture together. So now, after that, let's see how Yusuf dealt with it. What did he do? Think about it. There are so many ways that Yusuf could have dealt with this, but look what he did. وَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ. So when he basically furnished them with their supplies, he prepared all the food that they needed to take, and he gave it to them. قَالَ. He before giving it to him, he kind of like prepared it, and then he said, قَالَ إِيتُونِي بِأَخٍ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَبِيكُمْ. Bring me a brother of yours from your father. Bring me your brother. It seems that they had some conversation. So basically they mentioned to him about their families and all of that. And so it was mentioned that they had a brother. So he kind of like picked on it. And he said, bring me that brother. أَلَا تَرَوْنَ أَنِّي أُوفِي الْكَيْلِ. Don't you see that I fulfill the measure? وَأَنَا خَيْرُ الْمُنْزِلِينَ. And I am the best of the hosts. I took care of you, and I hosted you, and I was generous to you, and I did all of these things. So you need to do that. And then he continues. فَإِن لَمْ تَأْتُونِي بِهِ. So if you don't bring him to me, فَلَا كَيْلَ لَكُمْ عِنْدِي. Then there is no measure for you from me. I'm not going to give you your measure. وَلَا تَقْرَبُونَ. And you don't even come near. I am not going to give you this food that I prepared for you. So now think about it. What happened with when he said that? Think about it for a second. Yeah. For them, what happened? There's that flashback that came about, oh my God, like we have to go talk to our father to give us the second brother. So they knew right away that there was something there that's for them. They knew right away that their father is going to resist. It's kind of like flashback from the first conversation they had when they wanted to take Yusuf because they wanted to get rid of him.
Well, it's like flashback and guilt and a whole lot of
Exactly.
emotions.
Exactly. There you go. So it's like when they heard it, they didn't just hear, "Bring me your brother." What did they hear?
Here we go again.
Yusuf. Here
There we go
again.
again. We are exposed. Like, yeah, exactly. We're gonna have to go through this trauma again, because for
Yeah.
them it's like we're cornered. So that's where they said, look at this word, sanurawidu. The word rawada means to seek and ask gently and kind of go back and forth. It's kind of like we will negotiate, we will try to convince, we will work on it, because they knew it's not going to be a straightforward conversation. سنراود عنه أباه. We will try to convince and negotiate with our dad until he brings him to us. It wasn't like, yeah, we'll do it, no problem. وإنا لفاعلون. And we will definitely do that because they need the food. So let's stop here and just talk a little bit about this particular aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack even within that description, that interaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Part
there's
of
a lot
it
of
is
questions.
like,
A lot of questions.
I mean, I think one of the first ones is like, why is he asking about his younger brother?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is
Yeah.
he planting that? That's the first thing, he puts out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, give me your brother.
Yep.
How do you know?
That's
How do you know that they had a brother?
Yeah, that's what we were saying. It's possible that, and that's part of what he was describing. Like, I took care of you, and he sat with them. He was interacting. The ayahs showed that he was interacting with them, and he came down and he kind of like sat and talked to them, and that's why he said to them, "Don't you see that I am the best of hosts?" So that means they gave him food. He sat with them. It was really personalized, and there was a conversation that was happening. So that's why he knew.
And it seems like there must have been some element of time passing through this, because it's like it's also indicating that Yusuf has a plan. So he's been thinking about this. Like, he's like, I got a plan. I'm going to ask about my brother. Like, he's got a plot. Like, he's planning something in his head. So there was some time element for him to concoct like his plan to
I think he
deal
had 10
with
years
his
in
brothers,
prison.
deal with his
10 years in
family.
prison trying to plot this out.
So let's go off of what you guys are saying. Do you think that he's trying to take revenge?
We don't know yet.
I mean,
well, because think about it.
True,
well,
but
think about it. If he wants to take revenge, wouldn't he have just like been able to just reveal his personality and throw him in jail?
Yeah, that's true. Like, if he wanted to take revenge, he would have just, the minute he saw them like enter, you'd go crazy and you'd just be like, "Oh my God, you're back? You people, you know what happened to me? Let me tell you everything that you just did to me." And guards, go grab them, put them in prison. I'm in charge now. You just wait to see what you're going to get, like,
Exactly.
It could have happened in an instant, I think, if revenge was the initial reaction.
That's
or what you've
basic
been
revenge.
harboring for the past 10 years.
Real good revenge is like way more intricate, not so direct.
Like Batman revenge.
So you think he's going to take revenge, but he's kind of like doing some planning for it. Is that what you're thinking, Archie?
Well, yeah, he's trying to like get them to lower their defenses, and he might have. Who knows? I mean, yes, he's a prophet, so he's probably not. But as a human being, he might have come up with something.
Yeah, and there are 2 points here that you're saying. I mean, first of all, what about the other scenario that basically he could have just said, "Hey, I'm Yusuf." I mean, even if he didn't have the feeling of wanting to take revenge, go bring me. Why didn't he say, "Bring me your brother and your parents. Bring me your family"? He could have just like said it easily. Why did he have to do it this way? It seems, as you're saying, Shaza, there is something that he is intending, and the question that we want to ask ourselves is that, is it coming from a place of revenge, or is it coming from some other place, right? And that's what we want to really understand. What is his motive? Why is he doing that?
So if it's not revenge, what else could be the motivation?
Hmm.
I mean, it could just be like coming from a source like when we've had our previous podcasts and episodes, like he's coming from a source of healing, like
Hmm.
he's healed.
Okay.
So the last thing that's missing though is I miss my family.
Hmm.
Like I haven't seen my dad and my brother, my younger brother. Yeah, I might have beef with my older brothers, but like that sense of unity and like, can we have a family? Can I be a part of my family again? And
Hmm.
that's what's been missing for decades, right, for
Hmm.
him. And I think if you've healed, then there's that one element of healing that's left, right? It's that family
Yeah.
unity and that family tie that maybe he's trying to still get to.
Yeah, and I would take it a step further, and I would say that the healing that he is not only thinking about the healing for himself, but he's also looking at about, because he's a prophet. That's his job. When you're a prophet, your job is to heal people's souls, and these are his brothers. This is his family, and they are not healed. What they did atrocious things, they did bad things, they are sick in their hearts, and there is something that he needs to do about this. So we have to consider that he's doing this whole thing because he is looking into doing that healing. And the question to ask is, well, why didn't he just talk to them? Hey, listen, you guys did wrong. You should stop. Why are you doing this? You should just like you should ask for forgiveness. Why didn't he talk to them directly and say, you what you're doing is haram, you're
Hmm.
children of a prophet, you should have done, you
You should have
cannot do
known
this,
better.
you should have known better, you should repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why didn't he
Yeah.
do this?
We call
Why
that
do you
should.
think, Archie? I think you have a
Yeah.
go ahead.
All those statements you said all had the word should, and there's a joke in counseling. It's like, stop
Uh-huh.
shoulding on yourself.
Uh-huh.
Stop
There you
shoulding on
yep.
people. All that should, it creates a
Yeah.
sense of shame, and it creates a sense
Yep.
of,
Mm, there you
people don't
go.
like hearing the shoulds, and so they
Yep.
get
And
defensive.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. It become like it puts people's guards up and just like, oh, really? Well, let me tell you about how much I'm suffering, and then that victimhood that they basically grew in themselves is going to come up even further.
Oh
You
yeah.
think that you're suffering? Let me tell you about the story of my life and how much even after you left, Yusuf, Yaqub is still thinking about you. We're still suffering from this. So that's where that's where as you said, that it's coming from.
Yeah. So it seems like Yusuf has, knows that they're still stuck in this mentality. Like they
Yeah.
haven't changed. Life has moved on for him and he has gone through so much. I mean, we've gone through his story, but life has not changed for them. And they're
Mm-hmm.
still stuck in that same mentality they were when they were kids of like,
Mm-hmm.
How long
Yusuf's
has
the
it been?
favorite and we're the victims.
Do we know how long it's
Decades. I
been?
mean,
Decades.
decades. At
Okay.
least, yeah, at least a couple decades, if not more.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
he knew
And that's
that
and that's
he knew the original issue that got him thrown in the well was like this jealousy thing.
oh, totally, totally.
And
Yeah.
so
And that's yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, and so now maybe this is his approach to how to diffuse the jealousy part. This whole intricate,
Mm,
elaborate,
mm,
manipulative
mm,
manipulative kind of.
mm,
He's trying to
mm,
control the situation to create the situation that would make them address it without being
mm-hmm,
defensive.
mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly, and that's the thing that we need to understand is when you develop the victim mentality, it's not age, it's not restricted by age. If
Mhm.
you kind of like develop it when you're younger and you go with it, it just stays with you until the person dies, unless if there is an intrusion to it. It does not go away by itself, unfortunately. And
No,
that's a message to actually parents, and we talked about this before. It's a message to parents when you see this starting to develop at a younger age. You have to figure out how to actually break it right there and then before it develops further,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
it
I
looks
know
real.
personally, I'm dealing with that right now with one of my children, and they're young, and I'm seeing how she's wiring this victim story sometimes, and I have to jump in and help her
Mm-hmm.
unwire that stuff in her brain. I'm like, no, 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 no. Wait, where are you getting this from? why are you saying this? No, this is not, because that's what I'm nervous of. I was like, she develops as she goes into her teen years, this mentality of like, oh, I'm the victim. I'm the victim. Look what everybody's doing to me. And
Yeah.
I can't,
It's
I'm so sad.
important,
And this and
super important to do that, because if you let it go unchecked, it doesn't automatically mean it's going to turn into everything bad, but worst case scenario, this can fester. The mentality can enable such things as addiction and narcissism and all these other unhealthy mental states and ways of dealing with other people that can cause a lot of problems in their life. Similar to the brothers, they haven't changed in decades and
Yeah.
they're just stuck.
Yeah, yeah, and to your point, I think I really want to get back to this because as parents, again, this is extremely important. If you just go directly and just say this is wrong and you should not be thinking this way, and you invalidate how they're seeing things,
feeling and
it just doesn't work, because
Doesn't work.
for them. And by the way, the story of the victim seems very real, and it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. So you can't just come to them and say, hey, no, that's not true. Because it sometimes, by the way, sometimes some of the things need to be acted on. Like, for instance, when my kids were in high school, some of my kids just like one of them was like, yeah, well, my physics teacher just hates on me all the time. That's what they're doing. And alhamdulillah, we always do this kind of work together here at home. And he realized later on, just like, oh my God, I was like constantly blaming her, and I never saw what I was doing. It never occurred to me that what was it for her, how it was for her. So that, alhamdulillah, I mean, it makes a huge difference. However, there are some other times where there is actually some certain biases or some certain things that you need to address. We had that with another child where there was something going on there that you had to go and address. So you can't right away dismiss their feelings or dismiss what they're seeing,
Right.
but you can just like walk them, either if they're listening to you, and especially when they're younger, you can walk them through this. And I know, Archie, you want to talk more about that. That's the first line. Please
Yeah.
go ahead.
And this is okay. And one of the reasons why I converted to Islam is I saw a lot of parallels between psychology and what's being said in the Quran. It is a very sophisticated way of understanding the human psyche and how we have to be told to correct ourselves. And it's doing it in a very elegant and appropriate way of, look, we're going to acknowledge that there's a problem. We're going to not dismiss you right out, but we're going to say, okay, this is the issue. This could be happening, but what else could be happening, right? And that's what's the beauty of how to approach somebody in counseling, or people who are, just very good at understanding how to lower defenses and how to approach talking to people about changing their behavior. It's like you got to recognize where they are first and validate their experience, their perspective, before you go into trying to say, but it could be better, or maybe there's a different way to look at it. You got to acknowledge them first.
Yeah, yeah. So, Arsha, I want to ask you, because I know a lot of us are dealing, especially that this is a pandemic right now. Being a victim is, as you always say, it's celebrated, right? It's kind of like something, victimhood is celebrated. So that's why everybody is like taking this on. And almost everybody is dealing with some kind of personality like that. And unfortunately, you can't talk. Like, the more you talk, the more it's triggering. You can't address it. It just becomes very sensitive, and you feel stuck. Like, there are people who, no matter how many times you own your part, okay, I own my part, I know where I'm responsible, they can never see. And it becomes, you can't keep doing that if they're always right? If they're always the victim, it just doesn't work. So what do you do in these situations?
I point out the pattern, right? This is, you see this happening with this person, this happening with that person. That one approach is, if you're having the same, or you're seeing problems with everybody else, that usually indicates that you're the problem, not everybody else. So that's one approach. Secondly, I go with, how does that make you feel when this is happening all the time? And what can you do about it? And they really get perplexed, like, what can I do about it? Those are other people. And then you're like, yeah, you can't really do anything to change other people, right? So what can you change is how you perceive things and your choices. And you have to be aware of what you're responsible for, to find the ability to do anything different so that you can change how you feel about these situations. Otherwise, you're going to continue to be replaying the same victimized mentality with the same outcome of feeling powerless and the same anxiety and depression. So it all starts with, okay, how do you feel about it? You probably don't like it. So let's talk about how we can change it.
But I want to ask your opinion to both of you, because it also ties back with the story of Yusuf. So like in Yusuf, so he doesn't go out and say, I'm Yusuf. He stays in the background, right? And he kind of is plotting this scenario, right?
Yeah.
And so he's taking himself out of the picture, himself, and
Yep.
creating the scenario where his brothers are reliving the situation.
Exactly.
So it almost brings this element of like there's a third party, because like, if you're dealing with somebody that's fallen into this victim story and mentality, you're the trigger, right? It doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to listen to you. So then it's like you need to remove yourself from the situation. And then how do you bring in a third person to help? Because it seems like sometimes you're like, I need an intervention or somebody else to kind of show this person that where they're kind of falling into and how it's impacting not just them, but everybody around them.
Yeah.
So how do you
Isn't
do
that
that? Like, do you
beautiful?
just go out and
He did
ask
that.
like, hey, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
True.
Yusuf, he is the counselor here.
Yeah, he's performing great as a counselor. He's assuming this objective third party role. I'm not Yusuf, so I'm going to be able to talk to you. Because if he said, I'm like, to answer your question, if he just came out and said, hey, I'm Yusuf, all the old emotional baggage that those brothers are carrying with them would be the filter that they would see the whole situation moving forward with, and it would cloud how they're going to perceive it.
Totally. I mean, 100%. And that's why, to me, because as you were talking, like when you have people in your life like that, and you do this over and over and over, and you always feel that you're reaching to this point that it's just like not moving forward, that's where I came to the conclusion. It's like, okay, we really need to seek help. A third person because at the moment you start the conversation, that trigger, that wall comes up. So you can't be the person. And that's where we get why Yusuf alayhi salam did what he did.
Right.
That's why he didn't reveal his personality, because they're going to be triggered, as you're saying. So, and reaching and having the counselor is a huge way for the person to actually see that. And I've seen that work a lot of time. The question though comes is, what if somebody says, you want me to see a counselor? Because you know how sometimes it's kind of like you're thinking I'm the problem.
People.
You're thinking I'm wrong. Yeah, well, because because a lot of people see themselves as the hero. Like, I am the one who is putting the suffering here. I am the one who is doing all of that. You want me? They should go see counseling. So in this situation, there has to be an alternative. It may not, counseling is the first line, because that's the best option, but there might be, especially in these conditions, where we have to figure out something else.
Yeah. Well, before there was the counseling profession, there were village elders, there were grandmas and grandpas and uncles and aunties, but it wasn't just automatic that because they were elders, they were the person to go to. Like they identified the ones who were the wise ones. And so you had to have some wisdom that people recognized, and then people trusted them, and they would go and talk about their issues with them. But sometimes you have some old cranky people who just are no good to talk to. Just because they're older doesn't make them wise.
And subhanAllah, it's so interesting in every community. I mean, it used to be in families, and now that we're, you don't have that all the time, but you always have in every community few people who are the ones to go to. Okay, or family friend. Oh, I just like Eurish. It's like, okay, can you talk to my son? Can you talk to my daughter? Can you talk to so and so? And this is a huge blessing, subhanAllah. It's a huge blessing to have people like that in your life. And it's so interesting that a lot of times the people who are close to you, as we said, because of the beef that you have, it's just like not going to work that you talk to them.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I know.
Try that first. And if you don't have that, then plug mental health services, counseling.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's continue. There's another piece that we want to look at from the surah, that Yusuf alayhi salam did with them, which is so interesting also, that would give us some understanding of what's going on. So after he said what he said and they did that, then he looked to his people, to his basically crew, وَقَالَ لِفِتْيَانِهِ, and he talked to the people who are serving, working with him. He said to them, اجعلوا بضاعتهم في رحالهم. Put their merchandise, their supplies, put it in their luggage, in their saddlebags. لعلهم يعرفونها إذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم. لعلهم يعرفونها, maybe they can recognize it. You can see, oh my God, like the stuff that we were going to take, that we saw, is actually with us. Maybe they can recognize it إذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم, when they are with their family, when they're back with their family. لعلهم يرجعون, maybe they can come back. And then he said, so he was just like trying to, what is he trying to do here? What do you think he's trying to do?
Probably just establish some trust and rapport with them, like they can trust him.
Yeah.
Here's some evidence.
100%. Yeah. Exactly. He's just like that they can trust him. This is like he's really on their side. He's not against them. And that's a gesture of that. And then he goes, فَلَمَّا رَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَبِهِمْ. So now they are with their father. So when they returned to their father, they looked at their father and they said, قالوا يا أبانا, O our father, منع منا الكيل. We were denied the measure. It wasn't given to us. فأرسل معنا أخانا. So now they're trying to convince him why he should bring their brothers with them. فأرسل معنا أخانا. So send our brother with us. نكتل, so we can get the measure. وإنا له لحافظون. So, and indeed, definitely, we're surely being guardians to him. Why did he say this? Why did they say this to him?
It's like, we're not going to do what we did last time.
Exactly, we're not going to do what we did last time. It's as if they're kind of admitting that they did that to Yusuf. Like, we're going to just don't worry about it. We know your worry. They're addressing his worry. So then Yaqub alayhi salam said, Qala, we haven't gotten the chance yet to work on Yaqub. Inshallah, next episode we will. Alayhi salam. There is so much to learn from him. Qala, he said, Hal amanukum alayhi? Do you think I should entrust you with him? إلا كما أمنتكم على أخيه من قبل, except as how I entrusted you with his brother before.
Throw it in their face.
Right, so right in their face. And then look what he said. But look what he said. I mean, Yaqub alayhi salam, there's so much that we can learn, inshallah, from him. فَاللَّهُ خَيْرٌ حَافِظًا. However, Allah is the one who is the best of guardian. وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And he is the most merciful. Imagine, despite the fact that he has so much fear in his heart, he still said it seems that he has some kind of like he's agreeing to it. Why? Yeah. Because he knows it's in Allah's hands, subhanallah. So now the last part that we want to look at is when now after they had this conversation, وَلَمَّا فَتَحُوا مَتَاعَهُم. So when they opened their luggage or their baggage, وَجَدُوا بِضَاعَتَهُمْ رُدَّتْ إِلَيْهِمْ. They found their merchandise returned to them. قالوا يا أبانا. They said, oh our father, ما نبغي. What do we want? What are we seeking? هذه بضاعتنا. Here is our merchandise. ردت إلينا. Returned to us. So, which means that they are basically alluding to the fact that these people are trustworthy. ونمير أهلنا. And if we go all together, we will get more provision for our family. ونحفظ أخانا. And we will protect our brother. ونزداد كيل بعير. And we will have an extra measure of a camel because our brother will get his own share. So we're going to get even more. What do you want? They're kind of like mentioning all the points of the pros of why they should take their brother. Mm-hmm. They said, ذَلِكَ كَلْيٌ يَسِيرٌ. This is an easy way to get all of that.
It's a no-brainer, Dad. Let's go.
So yeah, right. So we're going to keep, inshallah, what will happen, how Yaqub alayhi salam will respond to next time, because we really want to address the whole thing. It's beautiful the way that he addressed it. So, but just generally speaking, as we mentioned, just to kind of summarize these ayahs, what we got out of it is, as you said, Archie, the aspect of Yusuf alayhi salam really established rapport with them. really, he seemed a credible person to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back, and I know you would love for you to speak more about this, that's the aspect that is an initial requirement if you want to interact with somebody who is dealing with this issue of being victimized.
Oh yeah, that's in counseling, and what Yusuf's doing is brilliant in that you gotta have them learn how to trust you. Give them reasons to trust you. Don't remove any excuse that they might have to not trust you. And he did all that.
Beautiful. So basically what we said so far, we said two things. If you have somebody that you have in your life who is always being like that, and it's a pattern that you're just unable to help them with that, first you have to don't do it yourself. Find a third party. And the second is that third party need to have some trust and some rapport with that person. So these two are important, right? However, we didn't mention something. I know we talked about it before, but I just want to make sure that we are very clear on it. Your job as a person who always feels being victimized in your life, and he's kind of like throwing it on you, and your life is dysfunctional because of that, your first job is not to react. You have to learn to desensitize yourself from whatever is being thrown at you. It's not about you. They're doing it because it's their pattern. And if you've been if you played the victim role at one point, you will understand. All what you're doing is you're triggering them, and they are being triggered because of them, not because of you. You have to get to work on that. And I know it's easier said than done. It's very easy to just like, yeah, mentally I understand, but when it comes to life and I see that is happening at me, I'm just going to be triggered and I'm going to react. You react, you feed into the cycle. They do more. You have to learn time after time. It's like, I'm not responding. It's not about me. Just ease up and just step out of the way. Get out of their way.
Yeah. That's this is what we study for so many years in counseling. To be a counselor, you have to learn how to not let your own issues become their issues. You know, you need to have a clear understanding. Their issues are theirs, and you don't have to feed into it. You don't have to respond to it. You just have to understand it.
Otherwise, you're fueling their victimhood over and more. You're establishing it becomes anchored.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's also an element sometimes, I mean, with when the victim doesn't realize that they're the victim and they think they're the hero of their story, you know, it's hard as the person that's receiving all of this. I know, Archie, you like to talk about Batman all the time in our conversations of like,
so,
you know.
These recent times, the generations are starting to become more sophisticated in looking at the Batman sort of story. And if you really look at what triggered Batman to start fighting crime, was he was a victim of crime. And everything he did since that time has been in response to that tragedy and that trauma. So people are saying, you know what, Batman isn't really a hero, he's actually a victim. And it's like mind-blowing kind of realization.
He's justifying everything that he's doing. Right? Like you can see him as a hero, but in the fact he's really justifying all his actions based off of a childhood trauma in the name of good. Right?
And I think that's why so many people love Batman. We all identify with this.
Right?
And it's celebrating it.
SubhanAllah.
The Batman syndrome.
And and people might say sometimes, it's like, okay, well, that's fine. I mean, if it gives me power, but you don't understand how much it's putting you under a stress and putting everybody around you under a stress. When you're playing the victim, it's really very vicious cycle. You think that it's going to produce something, but if you really are looking at it, it doesn't. And I know we addressed all the anatomy of the victim mentality before. But never get deceived by when they're making it a hero. Just never get deceived by that.
Yeah. So, I mean, in conclusion to this episode, you know, the things that we want everyone to really think about going forward before we switch over to the story of Yaqub and his interactions is really, you know, understanding that there is like a two-step process, right, to dealing with someone that continues to hold the victim mentality. If you're dealing with somebody, I mean, I think many of us do at some point in our lives or in certain situations are dealing with somebody that is falling into that victimhood trap. or, and I'm sure we have done that too, and we haven't recognized it. So then how do you, work with that? And, one of them is just realizing is that, are you falling into their triggers? Do you realize that you are the trigger no matter what? So then can you actually remove yourself from the situation and realize that, it's not about you, but it's something that they are doing themselves, that they are dealing with themselves, that it's something over there. But the first step is to just really have that acknowledgement and realization in your mind that you are a trigger. It's fine. Just remove yourself from the situation and see the actual what's going on. And then
Before you move on, Shaza, I just want to make sure that it's clear. What we mean by removing yourself, meaning you don't respond or you don't feel anxious in you. Like, take whatever they, just like be desensitized from it. It doesn't mean don't interact with them.
No.
Just let it sit wherever it is.
Don't take it personal is kind of what we're getting at.
Don't take it personal.
And then the second part is really, can you find a third person, to help out? Whether it's an elder, a family member, auntie, uncle, or if needed, a counselor that can really step in and help them see what they're doing within themselves. But like we said, just remember, it needs to be a really credible, reliable person with wisdom. It can't just be any elder, auntie, or uncle that's just going to go at them and just lecture. It's really somebody that has that wisdom and that care and that empathy to kind of get them to where they need to be. And if you can get them to see
don't gang up on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what a lot of families tend to do. Let me get the auntie and uncle and the cousin and everyone. We're all going to tell you should have done it different. You're wrong, and it just ruins everything.
Yep. So those are the things that we want everybody to think about for this episode as we continue on, inshallah, next episode when we delve into the other side, when the reaction, the relationship and the exchange with Yaqub. So inshallah, we'll see you next week at our next episode of Timeless Conversations. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
If you like listening to our conversation about the Quran, imagine how much more you would get out of participating in a live conversation about the Quran with Dr. Nadia and a room full of people engaging with the Quran. Join us at our next in-person Seeds of Wisdom retreat, online with our weekly Quran and Me sessions, or for the youth at one of our Camp Z retreats.